Fáilte a thula duine. Welcome to my house. A fine winter's day out there, and I have a story for you. A typical story from the Highlands, the kind of story I like. We beckon Gàidhlig own. There'll be a little Gaelic in it too. Va duine ari own o hen dam banam Alistair Oak. There was, in times past, a particular man by the name of Alistair Oak. And he lived in the Highlands in a place called Dòlaig. Dòlaig means forest, or sort of foresty place. Now, he had a small family. Va Daolaig bec ikke. Alven, his wife, agus G's cleine, and a couple of children. Agus own an on Erich. In the time of the spring, hic cleine ella. There came another baby. And because it was the spring, Alistair was forever going out from the house to work in the fields, arms and round, in the wide open fields. Perhaps he was ploughing, I'm not sure. And one day he came back and he found that the bed of his wife was empty. The lepihula, the birthing bed. She was gone, and the child was left behind. Van Learnov na Erna, the child was alone. And he knew this immediately meant that the wee folk had taken his wife away, because she would not have left the child herself. And so he searched for his wife, and he searched the house, and he searched around the house, and he understood that she had been taken, and nothing else had been taken except for her brecon, her fella brecon, her plaid, her red tartan shawl had gone with her. Gunro Echka Oimpa, that was that she had around her. So he asked around, and days, weeks went by, and there was no sign of his wife, and he raised the children himself. Meanwhile, some distance away, Dunya Ella Ari, Dunya Ari Ella, another particular man. Dambanam Dòmhnal, by the name of Dòmhnal. Now Dòmhnal, the name Daolaig, I think I would translate that as beetle-like Donald. And Dòmhnal was out from his house on the same day, unbeknownst to him, that Alistair's wife was stolen away. Dòmhnal was out from his house, and he heard music, and coming towards him through the air was Sloa, a host of wee folk, and they had a carabat, a carriage, a lepi, a bed, a litter carried amongst them, and they were singing a kind of chant as they raised this stretcher, this bed up in the air and brought it down. Like a mitch holy vaggy, tonk a mitch holy vaggy, yon a mitch holy vaggy. We will raise this burden, we would lower this burden. And he immediately knew what it was, that this was a host of wee folk, and he saw in the litter there was a woman. And she in no way pleased to be there. And Yonse Nashiachin, he attacked the wee folk, the Dòmhnal Daolaig, and they disappeared Aunan Hiobui in a yellow mist. And he was left with this woman, and he didn't know who she was, and she didn't know who she was or where she came from. And so he took her home, and she lived with him for 2 years. For 2 years. This was, of course, Alistair Oak's wife. And Alistair looked for her for 2 years, and she was lost for 2 years. And then it came the time of Félamura, the market, the festival, the feast day of the Virgin Mary at Invernish, at the town of Inverness. And Dòmhnal went there with something to sell, and Alistair went there with something to sell, possibly something to buy. And Alistair was walking around the fair, the feast day market, and he saw the red shawl, and he recognised it as the red shawl of his wife. And he went up to the man and he said to this man, Dòmhnal Daolaig, said, "Where did you get that shawl? It's my wife's shawl." And he says, "Well, it came with a woman that I found." And he told the story how he'd seen this fairy host coming through the glen in the air, and how he chased them away and had this woman. So Dòmhnal took Alistair home. Va Alistair Lorg Aven. Alistair had found his wife. And so she was asked, did she want to come home with him? And he explained who he was, and she agreed that she would go home with Alistair Og. And so she said goodbye to Dòmhnal Daolaig. And she went home with Alistair, and there was her 3 children. And he brought the shawl too. And every year, Alistair Oak's wife would send her Jesha Udach Ur, would send a new suit of clothing that she made herself, and she would send it to Dòmhnal Daolaig for the kindness that he had shown her.